we got together and I think pretty great stuff locally by getting involved in our local boards of supervisors and so on there. So maybe locally, think nationally, that's where you get the work done. So this is what we need now. Find your passion, get out there and do it. So I am wearing the shirt from Ashley Babbitt. This shirt came from C. They've done so for 825 nights in a row, something like that. Not missed a night. You know, some of them have arrested a couple of times, or yeah. So I think that was noise and sirens and try to disrupt what those folks and what. So anyway, Kendra, I guess maybe we should get this thing turned on so I can give you this. How many police officers were killed on January? So what do we got to do there? So again, Ashley Babbitt, Air Force, she was died. I'm just going to try to figure out. To get into the Capitol building, the police were trying to push them back. It was a very constricted area, and with all the push, ended up laying at the bottom of a pile. Hit her with a baton while she lay there on the ground. So most people don't hear about that's how she died. But then they hauled her off and they claimed that she had fentanyl in her system or some other thing. Things were coming down and just going off right in the middle of the crowd. So you might have seen. Anyway, the signs that they have every single week, and maybe change my screen. Sorry, folks, I'm not that great there. Trump's supporters stormed the United States. How many have been charged? 1522, as I said. Number of right here. This is all alphabetical, unless it's like the new ones are up on the front, any updates are up in the front, but then it's alphabetical. So if you know James Grant, James also got out fairly recently, and he's got a heck of a story to tell too. So I'm going to 30 people are very interested.
All right, yeah. I'm going to be dropping. All right, yeah. I'm going to be dropping my own in the next time, but you didn't know. But regardless, I was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon. And then, you know, when I had trial, I was acquitted of most charges. But yeah, no, I was in grade 6. I was a law student. I had multiple scholarships to. Am I ever going home? Yeah, so, well, you know, yeah. So J6ers, and that's, you know, they've got like an energy about it. But that's one good thing to come out of it.
That's a very common thing. Very common thing, by the way.
After 3 years, I just, you know, a lot of depression, to be honest. I was feeling, Tom, because, you know, and I'm trying to call lawyers now to sue them, and none of them want a part of it. People have been giving me, like, you know, oh, this person will help maybe, and stuff like that.
What can you use right now just to support, anything to help lift you up?
Yeah, well, I think some just financial, AMESGRANT. I think, yeah, just because I'm sure they looked into it, and yeah, I just really want these media companies to pay for what they've done. By the way, I think that's how they were able to get away with these ridiculous lie that people died that day. 4 people did die, but, you know, back to 1789, whereby, you know, beat this president that, you know, was so successful and has so much support behind him. So, you know, I hope people are starting to wake up.
I mean,
it just changes the whole.
Are really concerned about what happened to you all, and
I'll say it for you.
What they did to you, they could have done to any one of us in this room. So
I watched because I was being transferred to another facility. I looked and there was like you know, like a letter, like a whole group of pieces of paper. It's profound that, you know, this whole narrative can absolutely be changed. I think the 1512 had to be dismissed, or, you know, I don't think this would have gone well. So it's just great that everything that, you know, has happened that needs eligible voters, which, you know, it's of course why they don't want to clean the voter rolls, but.
When we went around the room to introduce one another, we're talking about being poll workers or watchers or getting involved. So people are getting involved. They know that we've got to do that.
fences that they have contact with, so we might benefit him to.
With it too, James, but I'll check it out.
Okay, yeah, shoot me a text, that'd be great. Yeah, I just want to thank you guys. It's been great. I love talking to you guys. Elected, and you know, we're so close to the finish line. I think all of our.
Wow.
Yeah, James is a. I don't know if it was him.
Or you even had a trial?
No, and John can probably talk about some of this, but with good behavior and time, you know, the calculation, he was able to get out within just a few weeks after that. So.
And there was no bail at all?
No bail.
I'm also a Proud Boy, so this all didn't happen in a vacuum. We show up on January 6th. I was there. I'm telling you, the crowd. And I'm talking about deep into the crowd. Now, if their excuse was that people in the front were being rowdy to shoot flashbangs into the crowd, that's how 2 American citizens opened on the screen. Benjamin Phillips and Kevin Greason were killed that way because they went off by their heads. So that was early on. We had a man get shot through and exploded on. So we had Mark and Jaleese Middleton were praying in the front row near the police barrier, and the cops, you know, shoving them, punching them, you know, crazy stuff, attacking these people just standing there praying. You see a lot of that happening. They have these giant super soaker sized mace cans, like the size of a fire extinguisher. They were just dousing the crowd. I mean, people standing there just holding their phone up like this, peaceful, and just getting sprayed. You know, how many people you got to see get sprayed? How many grandma or rubber bullet before people start to kind of, you know, get a little, you kick in a hornet's nest. So the police line eventually broke. People climbed on the inaugural stage. I just want to point out, that was the only spot where there was a flashpoint. The rest of the building, the cops opened the doors and let everyone in. Cops were opening the doors and letting everyone in. On that one, that was the west side where I was at, which is where the flashpoint happened. I climbed up on the inaugural stage. Everybody's chanting, USA, USA, waving our flags. Actually, it was a very joyful experience. It really was. It was a day of love, the way that Trump explained it. The tunnel, there was a hallway right on that inaugural stage. That was where things were getting hairy, where the cops were dousing with things, using cattle prods to, you know, shock people, using all sorts of baiting us with clubs. They were fully armored. They had shields. The crowd was not fully armored, didn't have shields, and the crowd was pushing where the cops were beating. There did end up being a dog pile right there at the mouth of the tunnel. Everybody couldn't breathe, was screaming, "We can't breathe, we can't breathe." I witnessed the murder of Roseanne Boylan on the back of his shirt. I jumped into action and tried to help, as well as over a dozen of us, and we all went to prison. I was arrested for assault an officer with a dangerous or deadly weapon. I hit 2 officers with a wooden walking stick. I actually knocked them both down, which actually gave the protesters, because the protesters, everybody right in front of me was trying to get the bodies off the ground, unconscious bodies. As I come around the corner, people are screaming for help, screaming, and I never thought I'd hear bloody murder, like literally screaming bloody murder. You hear people say that, when you're living it, it haunts you when you actually have to hear something like that. Help, help, she's dead, we need help. The people who were reaching in to try and grab her and pull her out, and the other unconscious bodies, were being hit in the head with batons, were being sprayed by the police. We were begging the cops to stop. There's people on the ground, we need help. So I come around the corner to this scene, I grab a wooden walking stick from another man, and I tried to knock their masks off. I missed. I hit them between their helmet and their body armor. I knocked 2 officers down. Luckily, did not injure either one of those officers, but by knocking those 2 officers down, people were able to get her, pull her out, and start chest compressions. Sadly, it was too late. We were unable to save her, and that is something I have to live with, and the rest of us have to live with as well. That's my involvement in a nutshell. Like I said, I tried to compress it. Being arrested, I was arrested like I was Al-Qaeda, like I was Bin Laden. It was a pre-dawn raid with dozens of fully armored, automatic weapon FBI agents, an armored truck. All they had to do was call and tell me to turn myself in, and I would have went and turned myself in. But this seemed to be a pattern they did to a lot of J6ers, hundreds of J6ers. To my knowledge, not one J6er was being arrested and fought the police or shot at the police. So I know maybe a couple of guys ran, you know what I mean? But that was it. I think nobody was violent. That's my knowledge. Nobody was violent to the police when they came to arrest them. So why they arrested us in pre-dawn raids like we were Al Qaeda, I'll never understand. I was placed in the DC jail on solitary confinement for 13 months. 2 years with no visitation. Not video visitation, not visitation through glass. Nothing. The day they came in and actually told us we were able to get visitation was on January 6th, 2023. That exact day, they chose to come in and say, hey guys, now you get visitation. They were sending us a message. Which is kind of ironic because, and I totally stand with Alexei Navalny in Russia. Totally stand with him. But he was arrested by Putin and put on solitary confinement with no visitation. And the mainstream media was screaming at the top of their lungs, CNN, MSNBC, there's one Russian on solitary confinement with no visitation. And we're like, what are we? What are we, chopped liver? We're in this country. We're not even in Russia. We're over here. So, yeah, when they say political prisoners, when they say hostages, when Donald Trump says hostages, he means it. I had the honor of being a member of, so anywhere between 15 to 50 of us would be in that J6 pod in the DC jail, segregated from the rest of the jail at any given time. These guys would come in and go to prison. I had the honor of being there with the 20 fellows, with the 19 other fellows. I'm one of 20 in the J6 prison choir. I had the honor of, we called into a recording studio every single night. Started at 7 and then it became 9 o'clock. But every single night we sang the national anthem. And they heard about this. Trump heard about this. With a celebrity, we weren't told it was Trump. We were told that we thought it was going to be Kid Rock or John Rich or something. When we found out that Donald Trump went into a recording studio and did the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they did a music video, the J6prisonchoir.com, you can see they sell merchandise and all sorts of vinyls. And they help J6ers with the money raised. You know, that was one of the great honors that I had, suffering alongside with the men that I was in there with. I want to point out, I am a Proud Boy. The judge did not know I was a Proud Boy when he sentenced me. By the way, I went almost 3 years with no bond hearing. Not even a bond hearing. No bond hearing. I kept trying to get one. We would start one, and then the prosecutor would move to continue it for 90 days to do, for example, FBI background checks on all my character witnesses, including a sheriff from Williamsburg, Virginia, former sheriff, Bob Dees, wrote a character witness for me, and many other people, and they wanted to do background checks because they had reason to believe they were involved with January 6th. Another time, so that's 90 days. We go back another 90 days. I had hired a private security firm so to make it very easy for them to give me bond. I had a private security firm out in Nashville, where I live, was going to have an off-duty officer check on me once a day and report to the court. So they were going to report directly to the court. So we had the president or the CEO of the company Zoom call ready to come in and be a witness. Before he could even put his face up and talk to the judge, the prosecutor asked to do a background check on that agency because he had reason to believe they were involved in January 6th, which made no sense. It was ridiculous. So there's things like that that happened. So for almost 3 years, I was unable to even finish a bond hearing. And then I was threatened with, the prosecutor said, well, if I continue trying to get a bond hearing, they're going to pull any possibility of a plea deal. All right? So I didn't go to trial like James Grant. I took a plea deal. I played hard like I was going to trial, but I knew there's no way I'm going to win a trial. I got to take a plea. So I actually had a public defender in the beginning, and this is a common experience with us. Our public defenders in DC hate us. Right? They take shots at us and say slick comments in the legal visits we have. The day he told me that Roseanne Boylan got what she deserved was the day that I fired him. I was able to raise the money to hire another lawyer, which cost almost $100,000. These federal lawyers cost a lot of money. So I had to find a way to raise that money. I got a liberal insider DC attorney, defense attorney, and I figured that would be the best way to negotiate a plea deal, to get somebody that knows how it works in there. A lot of guys went with conservative outsider lawyers that were not from DC, and it really didn't matter, we were all getting screwed anyway. But I kind of just felt like get a guy that knows the system in that system. I got a little bit of a better plea deal than my original attorney had. I was sent to federal prison earlier this year. I was sentenced to 51 months in prison. So I served 85% of that. For multiple different reasons, so you're supposed to get 85% you get 15% off for good time, but you also get 6 to 12 months halfway house. Supposed to. Well, they refused that for me, the halfway houses, because they were full. But if they're full and they come up with some excuse why they can't give you a halfway house, you're supposed to get home confinement and get ankle monitor for that time. We're uneligible to get that because we're like domestic terrorists, so we don't even get that. So if the halfway houses don't like us or whatever, or there's any reason, we don't get it. I had to serve every single bit, so I got out September 30th. The Proud Boys. The Proud Boys show up at every Trump rally, and I'm sure you guys have seen the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys, I went to the November rally, the December rally, and the January 6th rally. And after the December rally, I was involved in the local Republican Party out there in Williamsburg, Virginia. I was asked by people who are now running that party and people who are involved in that party, they were interested in if I knew some Proud Boy leadership security at Trump rallies. And it's a men's fraternity that encourages brotherhood and fatherhood and good Christian values amongst our member. I mean, you can be any religion really, but it's just, you know, proud of our culture, our Constitution, God, family, Constitution. That's basically it. God, family, Constitution. That Constitution is an amazing thing, and it created a culture. It came from a culture, and it created this great country. We're patriots. We love this country. If you've seen those 5 Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, Ethan Nordine, Joe Biggs, Zachary Real, and Dominic Pizzola, those 5 Proud Boys went on trial for seditious conspiracy, along with a few Oath Keepers as well. And I know them too, but I'm going to speak on the Proud Boys because those are my brothers. I can assure you that the Oath Keepers and those Proud Boys had no idea that that was going to happen that day. They were completely framed, completely set up. Enrique Tarrio himself, the chairman of the Proud Boys, is serving 22 years in prison, and he wasn't even in D.C. that day. He wasn't even there. I'm telling you, he had no idea that was going to happen. Nobody but Nancy Pelosi knew that that was going to happen. Nobody. And they wouldn't even dream of it. A handful of unarmed guys are going to take over the most powerful government in the world. These are some of my best friends. I know them personally. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous to think that they thought that they... Ethan will tell you, he puts it this way. He says, man, we couldn't even organize a pizza party. It's going to get, ironed out. They're going to come to their senses and realize it's a big misunderstanding. No, they went to a 5-month trial of smears and just character assassination for 5 months. They were on solitary. So we had after about 2 years, the DC jail started to lighten up. They went on trial about that time, and they were all separated from each other in Alexandria on solitary confinement. They were in a different jail. They were separated from each other in different pods. But every day they would go, for 5 months, every day they would go to trial together and see each other in holding cells, talk and stuff. So why were they holding them in solitary confinement, separated from each other in the jail? Nobody knows. For 5 months they went on trial. When they were found guilty, they moved them to the DC jail. And then, seditious conspiracy charge. He broke a window with a riot shield. Okay? He actually only broke a quarter or half of that window. He was charged with breaking 2 windows. Clearly on the video, he only broke half of 1 window. He found guilty of both. Enrique wasn't even there and got found guilty of breaking both windows. I don't know how. He got 10 years for that. If every Antifa member got 10 years for breaking a window, think about it. But what they did to us was inhuman, and it was inhumane. It was wrong. Ethan and Joe and Zach, 18 years, 17 years, and 15 years. They literally walked in a peaceful open door for a few minutes and walked back out. That's it with the crowd. They weren't in the flashpoint area where I was at, or where Dominic was at. They literally just walked out. Not only that, but they stopped at the food truck to get tacos before they walked in the building. So if you think about it logically, stop to get tacos first, to go with the beers in my pocket. It just is so ridiculous on its face. And these guys are serving all this time for it. So I just want to let you know, the Proud Boys show up for you guys every single rally, for the Proud Boys this time. It's time to get the January 6ers out. Just like James Grant said, best thing we can do is get the poll, make sure they don't cheat, and get out and vote. I would also add one of the things you can do to help the January 6ers if, Patriot Mail Project, getting letters is always nice. Getting a card or a Christmas card or something like that. It's always nice. Now, if we win, when we win, I'm telling you, not one of those Proud Boys, but one of them that we're all in the same. We all are friends. He can't sleep. He's just tense, and I know that's how they all are. Everybody, all the January 6ers, because we're all on edge. We're waiting for 2 weeks. So I know they're in there freaking out right now, just waiting. Very tense. I want to thank you all and all these different conservative groups I've been speaking at. I hear what they're thinking, what they're doing. How many people were poll watchers and poll workers here, and the creative ideas that people are coming up with, how the Democrats could be cheating. Could they be doing this? Could we be doing this? And some of them are wild and out of the box, but that's exactly what we need to be doing. We need to think of every angle and we need to document it. Get those cameras out. Make sure you secretly film it. I mean, if you just have a lanyard with your phone on it, why not just turn the camera on, just walk around, just hang out. You'll be your poll watcher. Nobody knows each other.
In the state of Virginia, only one party can set.
Yeah.
So you can video anything you want.
Actually, you can't inside.
Not inside.
No. Yeah.
But if you have some of those glasses with secret cameras in them, do the thing. I mean, come on, man. They play dirty so much. They play dirty, and we are always well, we're not going to get our hands dirty. Let's get our hands dirty. Let's do something.
So I have a question. So for the men and the people who are still in jail, they've not been convicted yet, and they're still on holding. How are they going to vote?
Well,
They need to vote.
yeah, the
They're
ones.
not convicted yet, are they?
Yeah, exactly. So the ones in the DC jail that are still waiting for the trial and stuff like that, yeah, you're right. Then they can register to vote, and they do have people that come by, because everybody in the DC jail can vote. It's weird. Guess DC lets you vote, even if you're a felon or whatever. So they come around. So there are volunteers that come in for
All right, so
voting.
they will get to vote.
Yes, they should be able to. I've seen them before come through, and because they're doing their rounds in the whole jail, so they're hey, they could actually run for office from inside the DC jail if they wanted to. We actually thought about that. I want to throw one thing in there. So we would get thanked by the inmates in the DC jail for the amount of light we were shining on that place. I mean, like I said, it was terrible for everyone for decades. I mean, it's been an abusive place. I'm talking about they would pop our doors in the middle of the night, zip tie guys and beat them within an inch of their life. Ryan Samsel is an example of that. They had guys open the doors, spray them in the face. Have you ever been sprayed with OC spray or even been around it? If you spray it in that corner right over there, all of us will be coughing and gagging. It just a little bit, it fills the room. It's really bad. So if you spray someone and slam them in their 6x9 cell, walk away, like the sergeant did at one point, or spray people for being nonviolent. One guy was getting his meds without his mask on. They made us wear masks for the first couple of years too, in the pod with each other, which was ridiculous. So it was weird, but it was just one of those tyrannical things that to just, hey, well, they're going to make us do it if they're going to do it. So he was getting his meds without his mask, and she sprayed him several times. She missed actually a couple times, and then finally when the other guard come in and slammed him down, the lieutenant Lancaster, when I say she reaches her, when he's being arrested, he's slammed on the ground because she had not got him the way she wanted to get him the two other times because he turned his head. Blank sprays him right in the face. So that's how Ronald McAfee actually, he's a former sheriff's deputy, and he was also there with Roseanne Boylan trying to help her when she was murdered by Metro Police on January 6th. So you got a former sheriff's deputy who was trying to save a woman and gets arrested put in solitary confinement, put in all these conditions, and then this lieutenant in the jail wants to abuse him the way that she did. So there's just things like that happen in the DC. Every time we would bring this jail to court, or we would cause them any issues and win, like James Grant told you about how there were some DC inmates at the Lewisburg jail, Lewisburg Public Facility. That was because we instigated a snap inspection by the U.S. Marshals on the DC jail, and they lost their federal contract because they failed it, you know? And they started shipping people out. And they had about 400 federal inmates at that DC jail. They got rid of about 200 of them before the DC jail was able to salvage their contract. But I tell you, anytime we caused that jail any kind of heartache, they would spike our food with cleaning chemicals, you know? So we would get our trays the next day, and it would smell like bleach or cleaning chemicals, you know, you could tell. So, all sorts of stuff like shenanigans like that. I mean, and I gotta tell you, that Lieutenant Lancaster situation with the spray on Officer Ronald McAbee, that happened just a few days after that speech Biden gave, bathed in red light, flanked by 2 Marines. Remember that one? Where he's calling them MAGA, MAGA terrorists or whatever he was going after us? Yeah, enemy of the people. Well, just a few days later, Lieutenant Lancaster comes in with this anger and starts, she actually shoved him first and then she sprayed him. But he was just trying to get his meds, his morning meds. So stuff like that happened to us all the time. After about 2 years, I don't know if you got noticed on. After about 2 years, things started to, get a little bit better. We were eventually offered these laptops. So we fought for them very, very hard because we couldn't view our legal discovery. So we eventually got, we could sign up like these laptops, and this programs person would come and bring it to us, and we'd sign it out for like 2 weeks. It was very disabled. Like we couldn't do anything with the laptop except plug our flash drive in from our lawyer and look at our legal work, right? But they forgot to disable the camera. So what I did while I was in there was I filmed a podcast. And you can check that out on wearegoodmen.com. It's my website. And if you go to, there we go. And so this is a picture of the podcast. So, yeah, so there's several, well, scroll down. So from the beginning, I had started harvesting testimonials from it. You can keep scrolling slowly because it'll eventually get to the Roseanne Boylan section, actually. But all of these are testimonials from our J6 brothers that I had published on Gateway Pundit. This is what my mission was while I was locked up from the day one, was to help them raise money directly into their own bank accounts. Because, we get these organizations come in and say, donate here, and then we'll give the money to the J6ers. No, if you find their article or their thing, you'll actually get their gifts and go, and it goes directly to them. So if you keep scrolling, that's long. I got a lot of these testimonials. Over 100 of my J6 brothers. Keep going, keep going a little bit more. It'll say her name next, All right, so this is the tunnel. This is the situation with Roseanne Boylan. Scroll a little bit more. We got some more pictures. And, she died of a drug overdose. She's bleeding out of her nose. We're doing chest compressions on her. So her family, I spoke to her sister while I was in there. Right here, these are the bodies on the ground. This is her friend's prescription, I believe, for Adderall. It was at the small dose that she was supposed to have, and it was not a toxic level at all. She was 7 years clean and sober, actually. And she was actually starting a group to actually help other addicts get off their drugs and stuff. So to actually smear her memory that way, when we all know that George Floyd, who was killed because a cop had his knee on the neck, and I don't agree with what that cop did, I'm not making any excuse. In his system. He actually did. And if you even mention that, they did burn houses down, So we debunked that early on, but actually just a few weeks ago, just about a couple weeks before I got out of prison, I was watching 60 Minutes. Scott Pelley, doing a January 6th one, said she died of a drug overdose. Again, this was just a few weeks ago. So 60 edits, like we say now after the Kamala interview, we know they're fake news. It's all BS. So everything you've heard about January 6th, there's a lot of good videos up here about Roseanne Boylan, and those videos up there that he scrolled up a little bit. This is the timeline actually, So I mean, there's a lot of great reporting collected on this website, wearegoodmen.com. So you can get to know us J6ers better in our own words. And if you actually, you don't have to scroll all the way to the top, but just click Vigil at the top. It'll bring you all the way to the top. Shoo! So, at the very top of the website, that's not the front page of the website, but the front page of the website, on the very top in red, it'll say the DC Jail Vigil. These are a lot of the live streamers that are actually live streaming that vigil that are outside of the DC jail every night. So this is just a lot of good information we like to collect. Hard work you've done. I want to especially thank Tom Jeffries. We have heard so much. I had heard about you so much in there. You inspired us. You really kept us going because we knew, you know, the word is spreading. People care, and people are there is a light on us, you know, and we feel the prayers. We feel, and we really appreciate it. I mean, we hear your name, all you and John Haynes. Tom Jeffries and John Haynes were like, yes, you know. So we're always rooting for you guys, and I promise you, every single January 6th in there is rooting for Tom Jeffries and rooting for all of you guys to do everything you're doing.
How many January 6ers are left in DC jail?
I'm not sure. I was one of the original put in there, and it turned over a couple times while I was there. I was actually called one of the OGs because I was there. Probably it was a completely different group when I left than when I got there.
It's around a dozen in the pod at this point, and then there are several others that have not been let into the pod. They've changed their procedures. They're not letting them come together. They're being held in general population. And that's sort of another psychological thing where these guys got a lot of solace and support from one another from being together and that camaraderie. I mean, these guys would tell stories. A new J6er would come in, and they've been through diesel therapy, if anybody has ever heard that, where you get the runaround from jail to jail to jail so that you never get settled in.
And it's not that fun because you get completely shackled up for 12-hour bus rides.
Right. So they're traumatized, and they come into this place, and they get thrown into this pod, and all of a sudden, they're brought into their cell, and their bed has already got all kinds of commissary items on it that others have brought together and said, here, you're going to need this. Here, let's help you out, whatever you need. They were so friendly and helpful to one another, and it made a huge difference in these guys' minds.
And I got to tell you, my favorite part about new guys coming in, because it sucks because you're getting locked up. You're like, oh, hey, man, you're with us now. But my favorite part, seeing a new guy, was the first night they were there when they were with us when we sang the national anthem. I mean, every tears in their eyes. They were like, I can't believe it was amazing to see them experience that for the first time from inside. You know, even if they'd heard about it, they just got to be with us to do that, and it's something that they're still doing today.
John, what was the website you gave for the choir? I think you mentioned.
Oh, j6prisonchoir.com. And Donald Trump plays that at the beginning of every rally, I believe. He plays that. It's one of his favorite songs now. So that was amazing. That we were surprised with that. We thought it was going to be Kid Rock, but it was actually President Trump.
So what day were you arrested, and how did they find you?
February 16th, and 2021. And the way they found me, actually, if you want to go to the front page, I mean, there should be Meet the Patriots. Meet the Patriots. Click Meet the Patriots. Yeah, it'll bring you to the front page. Boom. Scroll down, you'll see a video of Officer Fanone, my Fanone video. So Officer Fanone, actually I learned later how he ended up in the crowd. He pushed himself in the crowd. He walked off in the crowd, Officer Fanone. Keep going, it'll be right there. Yeah. Now, but don't click it yet, but I'll tell you when. So Officer Fanone, if you watch his body cam, he actually has two body cams. He walks through the police in the hallway, shoving a protester backwards. When he gets to the mouth of the tunnel, his body cam goes off and cuts right back on in 3 seconds. So it's two separate body cams. Cuts right back on 3 seconds later. Now, my guess is that I think he turned it off, and I'll tell you why in a second. So right when it turns back on, you hear the protester say that he's pushing backwards. The protester has no choice but to go backwards. They're going off the ledge into the crowd, out the tunnel, and into the crowd. The protester says, I'm going to try to protect you when we get out here, all right? And Officer Fanone says, thank you. And then they go into the crowd. And it gets weird. It's like, oh. And he screams like a little girl, which was funny to us because we know he's full of crap with his story. I witnessed this. I was right next to him, and I filmed it. And everyone that I saw was protecting Officer Fanone. And then asked him, and if you could hear him, I couldn't hear him say this then, but I could hear it in a body cam when I watched later. Asked him, which way do you want to go? Everybody's saying, don't hurt him, hold him, don't hurt him. You'll see this in a second. He says, I want to go back inside. So you say you want to go down or you want to go back inside. The guy says, I want to go back inside. So go back inside with the cops. As soon as he asleep, because he keeps reaching, you see his arm hanging. He keeps reaching to either turn his camera on or off. I think he turned it off on his way out. I said, but you definitely see his arm many times. Even when the officers say, officer down, and they carrying him through the tunnel with hanging his arms, he keeps reaching up and grasping at his body cam. And then his head ducks down, and you see his eyes a couple of times, and he looks around. Because I think he was trying to turn it back on, because he turned it back, he turned it off, but who knows what he's doing, but he's definitely pretending to be asleep. He walks, he pretends to be asleep for a few minutes while they're unzipping him and they're getting him in. Then he gets up and he walks a long way with a Capitol Police officer to go outside, and it's a long walk to an elevator. That elevator broke in, he has to go to another elevator. Then he gets outside, goes to the medic by the street, by an armored truck. Medic checks him out. He tells the medic, we kicked him in the head. We were kicking him in the head. And then the medic checks him out and says, you're 100% good. Checks for bruising on his head and everything. He's like, you're good. You got any problems? He's like, just some, I got, and he ends up talking to his partner comes out, his officer partner comes out, Jimmy Albright, and they end up chatting. And then he turns his camera on. So I just want you to play the video. This is what I witnessed.
How long is it?
It's just 40 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 40 seconds long.
If you've got good taste in hats, sweatshirts,
How's Tucker Carlson? He wasn't there.
they're everywhere.
He isn't. There he is. So you asked how I was arrested. And they just handed me back, it's over. So you asked me how I got arrested. So I wasn't going to post on social media or anything, but when I saw 3 days later Officer Fanone on CNN saying that we were trying to kill him with his own gun, and that we were beating with an inch of his life, and all this crazy, it was like 300 without the six-pack abs, he was doing all this thing. And I'm like, it infuriated, because I actually was one of the most beautiful moments of my life to actually see an officer in the crowd. I knew we were all angry that the election got stolen, everybody, but to see him in the midst of us and everyone protecting him actually made me feel like, okay, we are the good guys. We are on the right side of this. We're not going to just rip a cop apart while he's standing in the middle of us. Everybody was trying to help him, but then to see him get on there 3 days later on CNN, which actually no longer works with the Metro Police Department. He actually works for CNN now, which is, surprise, surprise. So when he did that, I put that on social media, and and then I guess they found my social media and got me. So that's how I got arrested about a month later. So yeah, anybody got any other questions, burning comments?
How are you now that you're out?
I haven't even barely slept. I've been speaking at different conservative clubs, all these breakfast clubs, York, Gloucester, Newport News, Williamsburg. I told you about the Young Republicans and William and Mary. I was at the Birch Society speaking to them. I've been everywhere. And then at night, I'm on social media, just hours. And then I get up, I'm doing it again. I was at a breakfast club this morning, so it's fun. But I'll sleep after the election. But, yeah, so that's.
It's not for long, you're gonna need your help clean
Yeah,
things up.
yeah.
You have another question?
Yeah, Harris supporter sign, there's one beside it that says December 7th, 1941, September 11th, 2001, January 6th, 2021, never forget.
Yeah, she said that in her speech. It was, yeah, pretty intense. I guess, like 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. I mean, it's pretty intense, man. Only 4 of us died. We killed 0 cops. 0 cops were killed. Yes, sir.
Would you have done anything different?
Would I have done anything different? Well, no. I wish I would have acted sooner or better. I could have done. I kind of just reacted, and my thought was knock their masks off, because then they couldn't breathe, and maybe they would stop eating everyone, trying to get people out. But maybe act sooner, or I wouldn't do anything different. It was tough though. It was tough for a long time. A lot of people weren't talking about us. I mean, I know there was a lot of people thinking about us and praying for us early on, like January 7th, but we didn't hear that. It was dark for a while. It was dark. 13 months solitary confinement. Yeah, we had our brothers like in the cells next to me and stuff. We could yell through the door. And trying to sing the national anthem when everybody's locked in their cells, everybody's on a different cadence, and it just butchers the song. You're like done with the song, and then someone's still in Rocket's Red Glare, and you're like, how am I doing? It's like everybody's singing in a different tempo, because you can't hear it because everybody's yelling. But no, it was tough. But I saw a meme, and I don't know how the original saying goes. Maybe somebody knows, but it says, "We do these things not because they are easy, but because we thought they would be easy." So that's how the funny version goes. Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be this tough, man. If you'd have told me when I was standing on the grass that if you go climb on that building, you're gonna get 51 months in prison and you're gonna go solitary confinement, it's gonna be screwed up, I might not have climbed up there. But now that it's over, I wouldn't change anything, because I've seen what I've seen, and I know what I know, and I believe that not just with this election and getting Trump in, but going forward, we need criminal justice reform, we need prison reform, because this system that screwed all of us up has been in place for decades, screwing people over. When I got to federal prison, look, when I was in conditions, I thought that was a one-off because they're the black inmates. I was like, oh yeah, they just like us because we're helping the jail or they're helping their conditions. When I got to federal prison earlier this year, the black inmates love Trump. I'm telling you, they see exactly what the government, what the DOJ, what the FBI is doing to him is exactly what they did to their leaders, exactly what's doing to them. The system that screws people over has been in place for decades. And it just snapped right into place for us. That's why anybody who's been in the system saw us, said, yeah, they're screwed. We don't stand a chance, because that system where the prosecutors lie. They just lie. Their whole career is built on how many convictions they get. They stack a whole bunch of charges on you. They put enhancements. You get sentenced based on based on the points. So your charge gets a certain amount of points. Then there's enhancements on that charge that give you a bunch of points. So it's like they stack the charges, they stack the enhancements, and they scare the crap out of you so that you take a plea. Or if you don't take a plea, you get an innumerable amount of time in prison, and they're ready to do it. Mandatory minimums, conspiracy charges. I mean, have you ever heard of this thing called ghost dope? Oh, you get to federal prison, you learn that if you get caught with some cocaine, somebody gets caught with some cocaine for a possession charge, he wants to roll over on his dealer or anybody, and he says, well, I'd be getting an ounce of coke from that guy once a week for 2 years. So they charge that dealer for 104 ounces of coke that never found that guy with, that this guy's just testifying, well, I got an ounce of coke from him once a week for 2 years. It's like, that's called ghost dope, and they charge you with it. I don't know how they can, but they scare you with all those charges, and they force you into a plea. The mandatory minimums are insane. You have a gun in your car, minimum. You didn't brandish the gun, you never used the gun, it had nothing to do with it. But because you had a gun, you get a mandatory minimum. You know, the system is so broken. The federal government has no place prosecuting 90% of the things they're prosecuting. Because guess what? All those charges are illegal in the states that they're living in. I'm pretty sure that if you're living in Michigan, it's illegal to sell crack. So why is the federal government prosecuting a guy for, selling crack 13 times more than if he was selling the same percentage of coke? That's the 13-to-1 thing where they, so the federal government getting involved in local affairs is always a bad idea. And I think that Donald Trump getting in and having Elon Musk in charge of an efficiency panel where they can actually look at the waste. I mean, we don't need to be paying these prosecutors, man. If the Federal Bureau of Investigation wants to investigate crimes and hand that evidence over to the state prosecutors to actually let the state prosecute, because the federal government doesn't need to be doing everything all the time. The states can handle their affairs.
John, I agree with you. I want to cut you off because Heather wants to say something, and then we got a few minutes before we're going to get a call from.
So John joked about thinking about running for office from jail. Jeremy Brown actually did that from a Florida facility.
Jeremy Brown's a Green Beret, Special
a
Forces.
former Green Beret, which brings me into my next point. At one point, the DC jail, and there were people in other ones, so that the percentage is higher. But in the DC jail alone, at one point, the former military was 72%. So they came and rounded up your military men. If you serve this country, it's used against you when you go in federal court.
For January 6th.
Most breadwinners, many of them business owners, some of the females are mothers, grandmothers, a lot of them just there praying. You're in federal court in DC because you were at your Capitol building praying. And you've been ripped from your children. That's birthdays. Barry Rainey spent 3 birthdays incarcerated. James Grant, who you heard from, broke my heart the first time I heard him because he had turned 30 in Northern Neck, and I knew what that place was like from the outside. There was something else, and I can't remember what it was. Dominic's the one who's gonna call for the anthem. You can ask him about voting. He'll be happy to answer that, because I've been on him. Are you voting? Are they telling you you're voting and you're not? Like, where is this? Because I've been communicating with the guys in some form or fashion for 2 years. Oh, that was the other thing. Many people don't realize on January 5th, there was an all-day rally. An all-day rally. The issue was on the 6th. Why? It was the same thing until it wasn't. And on the 5th, I wanted to be in DC, which is why I'm so passionate about it. I wanted to go. I couldn't find anybody to go with me, and if it happens again, I'm in trouble because I've got an army to go with. And on the 5th, I went to work. I put in an earbud because there's a live stream. I went to work and I put in an earbud and I listened all day long. And I worked 2 jobs that day in the same neighborhood. I went to the second job. I bent down at like 6, 7 o'clock to do the last thing that was asked of me, and I came back up and Fox News was on the television. And I see scrolling across the bottom of the TV, the riot in DC. And I looked at my client, and I will never forget the look on her face because I can't hide anything on mine. And so I knew she was like reading the shock on my face, and I looked at her and I said to her, I have listened to this rally all day long. I said, it is the most beautiful pro-God, pro-Trump, pro-my fellow man rally this country has ever witnessed, and that's ridiculous. And that was the second time Fox News sold out the American people, in my opinion.
And I just want to point out, if there wasn't a riot that had, or a dust up that was instigated by the police, if we didn't take the bait, they had those 2 bite bombs at the RNC and the DNC. Where's the bomber at? Because I want to know where he is. I think that was their backup plan. If we didn't take the bait at the Capitol, then they were just gonna say, well, the Trump MAGA, they put bombs, so, and then we got the video of the guy getting out of the police vehicle and walking over toward where the bomb was placed.
Yeah,
what's going on, man? So there's people getting out of a police vehicle with a bag and then getting back in the police vehicle with no bag?
Well,
Like,
let's
so.
give John a round of applause. I'm watching the clock real closely. You're going to call in about 5 minutes, and then you'll be able to ask another J6 or hear a little bit about what he has to say. I just did pull up a couple of websites, and I've got a listing of them here if anybody would like to take them with you for ease of reference. But this is the For Ashley website. This is managed by Mickey Whithoff's mother and other people. This today is day 1385 from January 6th. And so anyway, I highly recommend going on there and looking around. Patriot Mail Project was mentioned earlier. Here it is. You can go in and you can just do a search in this box right here, and you can find any inmate that you're interested in and see where they are, and they tell you how to go ahead and send mail. You have to do it in certain ways, single-sided, no stamps or things like that. They're worried about drugs. So this is a really great place for you to find information on individual J6ers. And then I want to flip to something completely different, but not really. This is a book that I read called Justice Denied. I ran across this just in all of my research and everything. This gentleman, his name is Howell Woltz. In 2006, in jail for a crime he didn't commit in North Carolina. And this book is a page turner. I was done with it in a day and a half. And the similarities to what John has been talking about, what James talked about, this was in 2006. This stuff has been going on for quite a long time. I've gotten to know him and correspond with him of late. And just today, he sent this book to a couple other J6ers who were inquiring about it. And he wrote back and said, let's see if I can get back over here. He said, I've got a new book out, and maybe this will help with Barry and help us to get back and take our country back. And I'm sure the print is too fine, but I'm going to read this to you. This book is called The Intellectual Case for Christ by Howell Woltz. He's written at least a half dozen books on different topics. Here's what he says. After a half a century of earnestly seeking digestible and intellectually satisfying evidence of the divinity of Jesus Christ, I recently fell to my knees at the age of 70 and called on him to be my Lord and Savior. From the cathedrals of Europe and the Buddhist temples of the East, to gurus and mystics in the Himalayas, the jungles of Haiti, and even the sweat lodges of the Native Americans, this journey was long and circuitous. The path wound its way from advising presidents and prime ministers to being held for many years as a political prisoner, moved 29 times between jails, peaceful therapy, prisons and black sites across the land of the free, and having to leave my homeland to escape crime by any court of jurisdiction. God was my constant companion throughout it all. Jesus of Nazareth was our only path to salvation, was more difficult for me. This is the story of that journey, now completed, using only facts, history, and the intellect to discern truth, which God bestowed upon all of us at birth. May this book and the amazing intellectuals who were my guides be equally helpful in your own journey to Christ. Howell Woltz, Warsaw, Poland.
Wow.
So that's on here too. So I highly recommend it, and I think that's pretty much what we have, other than the call that's coming in.
J6, and so we bought 2 books. Cliff, can you go get there on the table over there? The letters from prison. The prisoners actually wrote the letters. They are printed in.
DC Central Detention Facility. To accept this call, press 0. Your current balance is $56.02. Set to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Dominic. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Church, how are you guys doing tonight?
Hey, you got a good.
My name's Dominic Box. I'm from Savannah, Georgia, and there's nowhere else I'd rather committee. And wouldn't it be great if we had a little more God and a little less government involved in our lives?
For sure.
Well, guys, yeah. So my name's Dominic Box. I'm one of the J6 descendants. I'm somebody that's called in and talked with Tom every Friday and the Northern Neck Patriots for many weeks now. I've been incarcerated for over 14 months now, which is crazy to think about. But I truly believe that I'll say this: I trust in the divine order of things, and God's impeccable timing is so much better than anything that I could have predicted for myself. I can certainly say that I never would have anticipated at any point in my life that I would be incarcerated for 14 months, and certainly not for anything related to my activities on January 6th. But I genuinely believe wholeheartedly that for a purpose that I strive every day to figure out and to really speak, to be worthy of this burden that myself and the other men are carrying. And there's so many different ways to circumstances. And one thing that I've shared with Tom and so many other people is I really wish that, of course I don't want anybody to have to experience jail, but I wish they could see inside this J6 unit that we've got here, because when I tell you that you have a group of men that are on fire for the Lord, that are iron sharpening iron, and are making just better men than were those that came in. And there were some great men that came in initially, and then to walk through the door as great men. But as somebody who can genuinely say that I have become better as a result of this experience, I think it's something that the deep state and certainly our government never anticipated it. And you know, as weird as it may sound, I'm genuinely thankful that sitting here talking to you today, and that's a direct result of having this time of reflection and having this time to be around so many of the incredible men that I am fortunate now to call my brothers, and to just learn and grow and get better with every day. And it's something that I can honestly say we take very seriously, and it's just, again, it's an honor and a blessing to be a part of this J6 fraternity.
It's getting towards the end of the night here. Someone asked earlier how many people are in the pod right now. I said a dozen. Am I close?
Yeah, so right now we've got 14, and that's certainly different. There was about 40 when I got here, and one of the we got 4 other men that are J6s. So there's 2 facilities. If you've never been to the DC jail, which I'm sure that you guys have, they have what's called the Central Detention Facility and the Correctional Treatment Facility. The quote-unquote J6 unit is on the Correctional Treatment Facility side. We've got 14 men on our unit, which is C3B. We have 4 other guys that are downstairs on a separate unit. And then the big issue that we have is there are anywhere from 6 to 10 men that are have either just been sentenced or just been arrested that are stuck over on the other side, which is a completely different experience than what we go through over here. And the jail has decided that, I knew, and I said this months ago, I said as we get closer to the election, they're going to make our lives more difficult, or try to. And one of the things they've said is they came in about a month and a half ago and said there is no longer a J6 unit. They tried to integrate the unit, bringing other, so that they put us on a protected custody status, and they wanted to bring in sex offenders and government informants and different things like that. And thankfully we were able to basically said that's not going to happen, and thankfully we have maintained the exclusivity of our unit. But the issue with that has been anytime somebody has left the unit, whether it be for medical reasons or anything else, they have not been allowed back. And then the other issue, as I explained, is people that are coming in are not being brought over here. Jeremy Brown from Florida is a prime example, and unfortunately I don't know the other names, but from what I've been told, there's about 6 other men that are over there right now, and then anybody that's spoken out about it in a big way, like Benjamin Burlew, whose wife Brandy, an incredible woman, testified in front of Congress about this and several other issues. He was actually moved literally the next day to the federal transfer facility in Philadelphia. So one thing I would ask for specific prayers is that they continue to bring all January 6th defendants over to our unit, because as somebody who spent some time on the other side of the building, it's just a completely different experience. There are, I say this to give you guys an example of what it's like over there. At home, I have a white noise machine where I listen to the beach and things like that. When you're over on that side, you fall asleep listening to people sharpen knives every night, and that is an honest to God true story. It's a terrifying experience over there. Most of the men in here have never had an overdue library book, never had a speeding ticket, and then to be moved and placed around legitimate, unfortunate, it's a breeding ground for problems, and it's just one of the ways that this facility looks to break the spirit and the will, and a unity. There is a community that we have built. There are resources that we have in staying together, sharing what's worked and what hasn't worked in our court processes. There are resources that are available both spiritually, financially and otherwise, and there's just access to different things that we have over here, and there's, again, value in having that shared struggle of being a January 6er that those men on the other side just don't have. I'll say this, the best part of my night every night is something you guys are about to experience at 9 p.m. every day for the last, 9 months. I have sang the national anthem with my J6 brothers, and the men over there don't get to have that experience. And it's, if nothing else, that's something that they should all experience, because there are hard days in here, guys. Personally, I just got my verdict back last week. I was found guilty of 6 charges, 2 felonies, and I'm facing 13 plus years in federal prison now. And just having that camaraderie of the brotherhood and being able to lean on the shoulders of guys who are suffering much worse than I have and have significantly longer times on their shoulders. It just, there's value in this community that we have.
Love you, Dominic.
Love you too, guys. And we've got the guys coming over here in about 2 minutes. We're gonna again do that national anthem, and I would, if you've never heard us do it, at the end after USA, 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 we had a fight. So we got 1 minute left. So everybody, get a drink of water, get up, stretch, and do a local warm up, because I promise you guys, there's not as many people in here as there were 6 months ago, but it's still the most powerful. It gives me goosebumps every night to hear it and be a part of it. So I would encourage you guys. I don't know how many people are there in the room, but we'd love it if you guys would join in with us.
We will. Close to 30, and John Mellison's here, and just wanted you to know that too.
Phenomenal. I'm glad he's out.
Love you, brother.
So proudly we at the twilight's destiny, whose dust and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we march, were so gallantly screaming, and the rockets and the
All right. Oh, it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure if John can respond to me or not. If not, I totally understand. But I wanted to say, I tip my hat to you, man, and keep showing the world that we are good men. I think it's a great thing. And please keep doing that.
I love you, brother. I love you, brother, and I'm fighting out here. I swear to God, I'm fighting.
Amen. Amen. God bless you, bro. And, man, guys, the nice thing is, not to make this, all about myself or whatever, but I did also get some news today. My sentencing is officially January 20th. So once we take care of business on November 5th and President Trump takes the White House back on January 20th, it's very likely that myself and so many of the other men that are in here right now, Daniel Ball, Chris Moyer, I'm trying to think, I don't know anybody else in here that John may have met. It's crazy. It's a totally different pod, but it's very likely that so many of us may never actually have to go through sentencing, and that would be, wherever God places me and whatever the plan is, I completely trust it and His will, not mine. But, I asked for it. It's funny, I talked to my attorney months ago, and I said, let's just slow this thing down, whatever it's going to be. I'm already, and I'm sure John can attest to this, once you get into the routine of being incarcerated, of course it's not fun, but you get used to it. And she said, oh, why do you want to slow things down? Why do you want to wait? And I said, because, I know that Trump is going to win. I knew that the Supreme Court was going to rule in Fisher's favor, and I believe that we can trust President Trump at his word, that we will get those pardons, and they're not going to come, 2-3 years into his next presidency. They're going to come quick, and I'm myself and so many other men are looking forward to that. But guys, if it's okay, I don't have too much time left. I did want to share, one of the best things about this whole process is, I'm somebody that I work in sales. I work 65 hours a week. I've never had this amount of time to just sit and really, I grew up Catholic, so the Bible was not a big part of my life. Though I felt like I had somewhat of a relationship with the Lord. Getting put into this position where you really get to choose how you fill your time. The Bible has certainly become the way that I start and finish every day. And actually, when I was on my way here, and I sat in Petersburg, Virginia, in solitary confinement for several weeks. I had no books. I had absolutely nothing in the cell. I never left the cell for almost 3 weeks. But one thing that came to me on my first night there was, and I say I'm not somebody that has memorized the Bible or anything, but when I was in Atlanta, I came across Isaiah 42:16, and it was something written out very clearly, and it's okay if I share that with you guys right now. It says, Isaiah 42:16, and I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them and crooked things straight. These things I will do unto them and will not forsake them. And that is so reflective of the path that I've been on throughout this process, and so many of
You have 1 minute remaining.
I don't know how this whole thing works out, but I trust in our Father. I trust in the American people that darkness will be made light, all crooked things will be made straight, and we will get through this together. And that collectively, from the River of Life Church in Spotsylvania, Virginia, to Savannah, Georgia, to Los Angeles, California, and everywhere in between, together, we the people will reclaim, restore, and resurrect our American Republic. And you guys are just as much a part of this fight as myself, John, James Grant, Tom Jeffries, and everybody else. So guys, it's an honor to be talking to you tonight. It's an honor to be a part of this J6 fraternity, and continue praying not just for me and the other J6ers, but this country, because we have so many fewer days ahead of us than we do behind us to get this thing right. And God bless you guys. We're going to take care of things on November 5th. And again, thank you, Tom, for having me, and God bless you guys.
God bless you.
Thank you for using Global Telling.
And that's that.
Does anybody that feels comfortable just go on the stage and do a group picture, just because anybody want to take a picture? If you don't want to be in a picture, okay.
Kendra?
Yes. Oh, and yes, I would like to, for those interested, I'd like to take up a love offering to help
right in front.
So, if you can help with that, that'd be